welcome back as we get ready for modern philosophy. But before we do that, I think it'd be helpful to take a look back and consider the major eras that came before modern philosophy. Now, you can find all kinds of ideas in any era, but it is kind of helpful to separate out into sort of blocks of philosophy where we see certain trends, certain tendencies that take a leading role in philosophical conversations for a given period of time. Go back to the ancient world, go back to the ancient Greeks, go back to the ancient Romans, and what I would say is a leading idea is the question of what is the good and how can we relate ourselves to it. And so they begin with the presupposition that there is such a thing as goodness, that some things are better than others. And I think that we all recognize that. And I've talked about this a number of times. It doesn't matter how much you might say that there is no good, it's all just perspective and opinion. You don't really believe that if you push the boundaries far enough, right? Most of you are going to say that giving yourself over to a life of love and making other people's lives better, improving society, that these things are better than becoming a serial killer or a genocidal tyrant. Right? I'm pretty sure everybody here is going to say that. You're going to say that it's better to give of your resources to those in need than it is to steal from those in need. So we all recognize, regardless of what we say, that some things are better, some things are worse. And so what the ancients are doing they're beginning with that presupposition that some things are better than other things, and if some things are better than other things, then some things must be good. And so then, as Socrates asks, what is it that makes good things good? And whenever we take out that fundamental principle, right, that universal of the good, that all good things have in common, well, now we have somewhere to direct our lives. And so they're all trying to do that, or at least many of them are trying to do that. They're trying to figure out what is the good, and then how can I conduct my life accordingly. Now, when you move ahead into the medieval period, we're still doing a lot of that. We're still dealing with a lot of the same ideas. However, now we're really intentionally contextualizing those questions into religion. And in the West, this is obviously Christianity is going to take a leading role here. And so I would say that the ancient era can be described as seeking the good. The medieval era would be best described as faith-seeking understanding. And so we're beginning with the context of faith delivered through scripture, delivered through tradition. But we're still asking these questions of, okay, in light of this context of faith, how do we get a better understanding for what goodness is? How do we get a better understanding for how we should conduct our lives? And so, largely speaking at least, the medieval Christian philosophers and theologians did not just stamp out everything that came before. They made heavy use of Plato, of Aristotle, of the Stoics. They held them in very high esteem. They simply took their thoughts and then contextualized them within the context of faith. And so in the ancient era, we're pursuing the good. In the medieval era, we have faith-seeking understanding. However, as we move through the Renaissance and toward the modern period, the importance of faith kind of starts to take a sideline in philosophical conversations. Now, it's kind of always there. You don't get really many atheist-type philosophers, and so I'm not saying that they're going to openly reject faith, but the importance of faith starts to get sidelined. And this especially happened during the so-called scientific revolution. And so our model of the cosmos is getting radically moved around, as we no longer think that the Earth is at the center of things, but in fact, the Earth revolves around the sun. And so our whole picture of the heavens is starting to change. And you have to really think about how radical this would be. I mean, imagine if you had to take most of the science textbooks that you've used up to this point and you just had to throw them out, right? That's kind of the crisis of thought that we're dealing with here. And so there is a desire for certainty. And in fact, I think that is how we should describe the modern era. It is a pursuit of certainty. We're moving away from faith-seeking understanding. Now we're moving into a pursuit of certainty. And René Descartes is usually seen as the father of modern thought. Descartes was a scientist, he was a mathematician, maybe you've heard of the Cartesian coordinate system, and he was also a philosopher. Now, as their understanding of the cosmos is getting radically upended, Descartes has this desire for certainty. And so what he's going to do in the Meditations on First Philosophy, which you're going to read a little bit of for the course, he's going to begin by doubting everything that he could possibly be wrong about. And his goal is to arrive at some statement of fact that he cannot possibly be wrong about. It's a bedrock of absolute certainty. And then based off that, he's going to try to build up a system of thought that is going to maintain this certainty all throughout. And so that's his goal. And so you can think of what Descartes is trying to do in terms of Plato's cave. He's going to act like everything is a shadow until he can find the substance. He's going to act like everything is an illusion until he can find something that must be real, something that cannot possibly be an illusion. And he's going to go about this through reason alone. And I won't give any spoilers up front. I want to let you read through that text yourself. I'm not going to have you read the entirety of his meditations because this is a survey course. However, I'm going to have you read book 1. It's kind of like chapter 1 of his meditations. That way you get a sense of his methodology. You get a sense of what it is that he's trying to accomplish. And you'll come to discover where his foundation is, where he thinks he finds absolute certainty. And that's where I'm going to leave it for this week. In the video for the next week, I'm going to provide a bigger overview of modern philosophy from Descartes on, but I think that you really need Descartes as a foundation to get a good grasp on what's happening after him, leading up into the postmodern period in which we now live. So I think that you'll find the reading at the very least interesting, and I look forward to seeing your thoughts about it. And if you have any questions, as always, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, that's it for now, and until next time, Godspeed.